KUTV News, Channel 2, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Good evening, I'm Mary Nickel.
And I'm Doug Jardine. Welcome. A massive mudslide and flooding have plagued two Weber County communities for the last 2 days. No one was injured, but at least 2 homes have been destroyed in North Ogden, and dozens of homes in the nearby town of Harrisville sustained heavy flood damage. KUTV's Jay Coles has our story.
The skies opened and rains poured from above yesterday, last night, and into this morning. A short time later, a wall of water, mud, and boulders came roaring out of a Weber County canyon like a locomotive. Daylight illuminated the enormity of the mind-boggling devastation. Linda Skeen's home was destroyed. She recounted the seconds just before the river of mud and rock slammed into her house.
It sounded like thunder, and the next thing we knew, the windows were busting through, boulders were coming through. I was down in the basement, and just a wall of mud and water came through about chest high and through the kitchen, and I don't know how we got out of here. I really don't.
Her entire family escaped injury, but Linda Skeen knows she flirted with death.
I ran as fast as I could from the corner of the basement, and by the time I got to the stairs, the door had slammed, and I was in chest-high mud.
Skeen's next-door neighbors, Terry and Jenny Fulwiley, heard the rumble of the slide fast approaching and dashed to safety.
It was just us moving from the back door to the front door. By the time we got to the front door, out of the driveway, heading down the street, it was a river. I mean, our garden furniture was just floating down the street.
Fulwiley says his family had a 50-50 chance of surviving.
If it wasn't for the truck being parked in the driveway, we would have been swept down. There's no doubt about it.
In the nearby town of Harrisville, the flooding was not fit for man or for beast. Deanne Massingale says the onslaught of water washed into her neighborhood very quickly.
It started flooding in the road. Our basement didn't start flooding until about midnight, and we checked it, and it was fine, and like 20 minutes later, there was an inch all the way through.
Only the kids seem to have something to be thankful for.
What do you think of the flooding?
Fun.
What do you like about it?
You get to play in it all day.
Hundreds of family members, friends, and neighbors have begun the toilsome task of cleaning up. And for those who lost nearly everything except their lives, it's hard to comprehend the incomprehensible. Jay Coles, KUTV News, North Ogden.
Even with the mess, very lucky people up there. Red Cross officials have asked people to stay away from the North Ogden area. They say sightseers are actually hampering the efforts to clean up all the debris.
Afternoon, governor surveyed the disaster area, talked with some of the flood victims. Terry and Jenny Fulwiley celebrated their 15th wedding anniversary today, but heard some bad news. Even though they have paid homeowners insurance for 13 years, they did not have flood insurance. And their insurance company told them that they will not get any money.
Since flood caused the earth to move, it's flood. So it's all falls under flood insurance. It's excluded and everything in it.
Cleanup efforts continue today, but damage estimates won't be known for several days.
He has already confessed to killing 7
Assistant. Nearby, a state dam safety specialist was checking flood controls and catch basins. Matt Linden says another slide here is unlikely, but until today, no one had checked surrounding areas to make sure.
I think basically it did its job.
A debris basin is designed to secure floodwaters and mud and rock slides before they reach any homes. Residents in Cameron Cove say a debris basin near their subdivision might have saved many homes, but Linden doesn't agree.
There's a tremendous amount of debris in this, and it would have to be a pretty large detention structure, larger than the size of that canyon might dictate. You'd have to have some pretty good foresight to predict something like this.
Meanwhile, tonight, North Ogden Mayor Bruce Dursteller and state experts met for almost 2 hours with some of the people most affected by the disaster. They talked about what the city, county, and state have done to help with the cleanup and what to do if more rain comes.
Your needs, then, will be addressed very carefully. And when they're addressed, then we'll have some more answers. We wish we had them all tonight. But all we can do is say that we're pushing all the forces we can, and I think they'll happen.
A federal emergency team arrived in Salt Lake City late this afternoon. They will begin surveying the North Ogden disaster area around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
When will we know if they qualify up there for some federal money, Gene?
Well, officials say residents should know by the end of this week how much, if any, federal financial assistance is necessary and then will be granted.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Jane Clayson. Still ahead, the story of a baby making medical history.
Thousands of rolls of wall covering we have in stock. All Leveler products are still 63% off, even verticals. Don't miss out on.
A word of advice to lovers everywhere. When it comes to encouraging romance, Cupid isn't the only one who carries a bow.
President Bush proposed a plan last week which would provide $1,000. Wouldn't pay for uniforms, let alone tuition to a private school. She advocates spending the money on improving the public school system. Eskelson is attending a National Education Association conference in Washington, and you should know that the NEA paid for the satellite time for that interview. Some parents of students at Provo High School went public to them as the result of a careful selection process. Bayless says he is disappointed he didn't get the principal's job, but looks forward to his new district assignment.
Some neighbors in North Ogden are banding together to try and save a 70-year-old sycamore tree. The city is getting ready to chop it down to make way for a wider street. Northern Utah correspondent Larry Lewis explains why neighbors are fighting to save the tree.
And then they're wiping out the garden and the tree.
Well, they're going 40.
These people in North Ogden went to City Hall to fight to save this 7 decades old sycamore tree. An urban forester claims it's the second largest sycamore in Utah. North Ogden wants to widen and add curb and gutter to several streets in this growing community. The plan won voter approval earlier this year, but these people say the proposal didn't include the taking of the tree.
They're tearing down this tree, and nobody knew about it until after it was too late.
The project would also wipe out Helen Williams' rose garden, a hedge, and her garage. She's 73 and remembers watching the sycamore grow from a sapling.
Follow on $2,100 for putting the curb and gutter up there. And thank you, I don't need it.
The residents are angry that a handful of side streets were targeted for curb and gutter repair when this street, the busiest in the area, will remain unimproved.
Mayor Bruce Durstetler says the city has a right-of-way through the residential area, and the majority of people voted to make the improvements.
And it hasn't been easy for anybody. But we have to see the big picture, and our desire is to have it benefit the general public.
The mayor says the construction work will likely damage the tree's roots, and leaving it there would pose too great a liability risk to the city. But these people are determined to keep the tree and are considering going to court to stop its removal. Larry Lewis, Eyewitness News, North Ogden.
Well, for you baseball fans, a complete realignment today in the National League.
Yeah, a little controversy as well, but kind of an interesting scheme of things.